Hey guys, hope everyone's doing well. I've got a very interesting article I want to share with you. This article strongly confirms to me that we are right on track. In the last few years, I can remember two periods where oil was about $70 a barrel, Brent crude. And at those 2 points where Brent crude was around $70 a barrel, Iraq came out announcing that they had a budget surplus when Brent crude was about $70 a barrel. And they had a large surplus of revenue from that. Okay, they had tremendous revenues. Now, I want to stress something to you. Notice how they just put out a lot of nonsense BS news about the US and Iran. In my opinion, that was by design to make things in and around Iraq look much worse than they really are. In other words, it's just a mind game they're playing with us to suggest to us that Iraq has very bad instability. Now, but here, think about this very carefully. We have recently seen quite a few articles showing to us that Iraq has a huge budget deficit. And now, with everything going on, oil is almost right at $70 a barrel again. You know what that's going to do? That's going to give Iraq a ton of extra money to cover their budget surplus. And that's by design, guys. The only reason that they notice how oil for the last, 6 months, 8 months, has averaged anywhere from $60 to $65 a barrel. Okay, it seems like the only reason they don't allow oil to go up to $70 a barrel very often, and the only times at which they do that is just to get Iraq a bunch of extra money and get them out of their budget deficits. That's the only reason they've been allowing oil to hit 70, is to give Iraq a bunch of extra money to get them out of their deficit. Guys, this in my opinion is huge. That's why I'm sharing it with you. So what I'm trying to show you guys is, to me, this is very deep. And in my opinion, they only allow this to happen. They only allow oil to reach $70 just for Iraq to get out of a budget deficit. That's it. So, guys, I strongly feel that everything is right on track. In my opinion, the only thing we're looking for right now is for them to start the 2020 budget, and in my opinion, they probably will not start that until the second half of January. God bless you guys and have a great day.
High oil prices facilitate the task of reducing the 2020 inches budget deficit. 1-7-20200 comments. The escalation of tension between Washington and Tehran over the background of the Baghdad airport operation raised oil prices in world markets, recording their highest level in the past few months. And the price of a barrel of oil reached $70. Oil experts believe that the stopping or continuing of this increase is linked to the outcome of the political and security events between the United States and Iran. The Adel Abdul Mahdi's resigned government is counting on this increase in world prices to bridge the speculative deficit gap in the federal budget for the current year, estimated at $45 trillion. And U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to impose sanctions on Iraq in the event that U.S. forces are forced to withdraw from him after the House of Representatives voted on a resolution obliging the government to schedule the withdrawal of foreign forces from Iraqi territory. On the other hand, Iran threatens on more than one previous occasion to close the strategic Strait of Hormuz if it encounters more American pressure and threats, pointing out that its army is ready to implement any decision related to closing the crossing to prevent the passage of oil to the world. Member of the Oil and Energy Committee in the House of Representatives, Amjad al-Aqabi, talks to Al-Mada, seen by Al-Iqtisad News, that the events and repercussions that the Middle East region is going through have led to high oil prices in global markets to reach $70 per barrel globally. He adds that Iraq's exports of crude oil range from 3.8 to 4.2 million barrels per day, with the exception of black oil sales, noting that the selling price of Iraqi oil barrels in world markets amounts to about $68. Oil prices have risen in the past 2 days, reaching Brent above $70 a barrel, as tensions rise in the Middle East. Al-Aqabi notes that the positive return from this steady increase comes to cover the estimated deficit in the budget for the year 2020 inches, estimated at $40 to $45 trillion dinars. Expecting that oil prices will stabilize at this point during the coming periods, the size of the federal budget for 2020 ranges between 140 trillion to 145 trillion dinars, and an estimated deficit of more than 40 trillion. An investment has been set at about 33 trillion dinars and operational, including the payment of debts and the licensing round up to 108 trillion Iraqi dinars is for the withdrawal of foreign oil exports from the oil fields. The deputy from the Baghdad governorate confirms that there are withdrawals for a number of foreign exports due to the current conditions and circumstances that occurred in Baghdad. But their withdrawal does not affect the nature of work in the oil fields, and Basra International Airport confirmed last Friday that it had not recorded any cases of eviction of foreign employees from oil companies operating in the oil fields, in response to a Reuters report that the foreign employees had left. In turn, the oil expert Hamza Al-Jawahiri confirms that the political developments and the conflict between the United States of America and Iran on Iraqi lands caused an increase in oil prices globally. Considering that this increase was not significant because the two parties, Tehran and Washington, have no intention of closing the Gulf waters to selling oil. Al-Jawahiri adds, the United States of America has a large strategic stockpile of crude oil and its derivatives in excess of 1 billion barrels, and therefore they can compensate the market with any shortfall in the global markets of crude oil. He notes that the Iraqi Ministry of Oil was selling a barrel of oil before this crisis, in November and December last, about 63 inches, adding that the sale at the present time ranges between $68 and $70 per barrel. The Ministry of Oil announced in the last period that the daily oil exports amounted to approximately 3.5 million barrels, as the daily rate of export from Basra ports was 3,326,000 barrels, and from Ceyhan the daily rate was 91,000 barrels. While the rate was the daily export to Jordan is 11,000 barrels per day, and the total exports amounted to 347.707 thousand barrels with an average price per barrel of $63.051. The oil expert believes that any potential increase or decrease in oil prices in the market depends on what will be the political and security events in Iraq and the Arab region, noting that Iraq does not have multiple windows to export its oil.